gremlins. Happy Friday. It is almost Friday here because I'm making this video way later than I was planning on doing so. Since Fridays are short, I figure we're going to take a break from talking about the Industrial Revolution and we're going to talk about stuff that actually interests me. Oh, that sounds bad. And you know what? I'm going to cook too because why not? Today we are talking about Crazy Horse and we are making pigs in a blanket. Cheap and lazy version because that's me. Here's a shout out to everybody who did the questions yesterday. You guys make me so proud. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm so happy that you're actually keeping up with your schoolwork. You are the best little gremlins any teacher could ever ask for. And as you probably saw, yesterday, Jafar beat Mother Gothel. So today, you decided to crown the ultimate Disney villain between Scar and Jafar. Which, you know, interesting choices, but you guys do you guys, I guess. Alright, so let's talk about Crazy Horse as I get ready to make these pigs in a blanket. This is the scariest part, opening up this piece of cake. Crazy Horse is one of the most iconic Native American warriors in our history. And I love the guy. So what we are going to do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Crazy Horse, and then you're just going to answer like 3 easy questions after this, okay? Nice, easy Friday. Crazy Horse was born in the 1840s. Not a lot to say about his childhood, besides he was actually known as Curly when he was a kid, because he didn't get the name Crazy Horse until he was older. His dad was actually known as Crazy Horse first, but his dad later gave up his name to his son after it became kind of obvious that, oh, his son's actually like a pretty cool dude. Crazy Horse was a member of the Lakota tribe. So his first negative interaction came with white men when he was probably in his teens or early 20s. A bunch of U.S. soldiers entered a Lakota camp, which was in present-day Wyoming. They were led by Lieutenant Grafton, and they were looking for a native man that they wanted to arrest because he had stolen a cow. So, while these military guys were there, things got violent, and they ended up shooting the Lakota chief. The Crazy Horse and the Lakota returned fire and ended up killing Grattan and 30 of his men. So Crazy Horse had witnessed the chief being murdered. And after he saw that, Crazy Horse started to get like these crazy trance visions. But he wanted to know what these visions meant, so he decided to go on the vision quest. See, in this culture, there were like all these things you were supposed to do before going on a vision quest to make sure you were like ready and you were mature enough. But Crazy Horse didn't do any of that because he did what he wanted. So he goes on this vision quest and he does end up having a vision. In this vision, he saw a warrior, and the warrior had a lightning mark on his face and white marks all along his torso, like hailstones had hit him or something. The warrior was dressed really simply, he just had a single feather, and he had a brown stone that he kept behind his ear. Crazy Horse saw this warrior in battle, and during the battle, all these bullets and arrows were just going around the warrior, they were never actually striking him. So later in the vision, the warrior actually talked to Crazy Horse. The warrior told Crazy Horse to dress modestly, to never take any scalps or trophies from the people he killed in battle, and to try to avoid touching any of his tribesmen. If he followed these rules, then he would not be harmed in battle. So the crazy thing is that this vision basically came true. Crazy Horse actually adopted those markings that he saw on the warrior. He used that for his own war paint, which looks like this. Even though he was eventually going to get quite the reputation as a fierce warrior, he never wore a war bonnet in battle. Instead, just like the warrior in his vision, he just wore a single feather and a stone behind his ear. Oven time. Crazy Horse also followed the warrior's advice because he was noted for being kind of shy and aloof and lonely even around his own tribesmen, to try to avoid touching them, just like the warrior told him to. Just like the warrior said, Crazy Horse was hardly ever wounded in battle. The only real time we know of that he was wounded in battle was when he was actually trying to take some enemy scalps, which if you remember, the warrior had warned him against. Crazy Horse gains a very fierce reputation as he becomes involved in the Plain Wars. He dedicated his life to stopping white encroachment onto Lakota and other native lands. He was incredibly determined to protect his people's way of life, and he was involved in numerous battles where he was very noted for his fearlessness, which gained him respect on both sides. The most famous battle he participated in was definitely the Battle of Little Bighorn, and eyewitnesses actually said he was by far the bravest, most noteworthy warrior who was there that day. And if you guys remember, that was the greatest victory for Native Americans during these wars of the 1800s. However, after the Battle of Little Bighorn and the U.S. Army's terrible defeat, the army was out for blood. Crazy Horse's people started to suffer. They had a really bad winter, and it got so bad that Crazy Horse actually surrendered himself for the good of his people. When he surrendered, he was taken to what we called a Native American agency. So it's kind of a place for like the U.S. Army to keep an eye on him. There were constant rumors going around all the time that he was going to leave the agency, sneak away, and take up arms against the United States once again. At one point, Crazy Horse was actually caught leaving the army encampment to go seek medical help for his sick wife. Because he left that land, he was then placed under arrest. As he was being taken to a guardhouse, Crazy Horse was stabbed. We are not 100% sure what happened there. He might have been trying to escape. He might have pulled a knife. There is one eyewitness account that even says that he pulled a knife and committed suicide by stabbing himself with that knife. We're not 100% sure what happened, but he did die of that stab wound. We also know is that while he was being arrested and taken to that guardhouse, the person holding him back was another Lakota, a rival of his, known as Little Big Man. The only other time Crazy Horse was ever wounded, this time fatally wounded, was when one of his own tribesmen was holding him back, just like the warrior had warned against in his vision. So the vision did come true. As he lay dying, Crazy Horse refused to lay down on the white men's cot and instead chose to die on the floor. His parents came and claimed his body, and they buried him in an unknown location. But to this day, we don't know where his final resting place was. Just like when he was alive, Crazy Horse remained an icon in his death. And in fact, they decided to build a memorial for him. The same sculptors who made Mount Rushmore were approached by a Lakota chief with the idea of making a memorial for Crazy Horse. The chief wanted to make this memorial for Crazy Horse to show that Native Americans have their own heroes too. Here's a quick picture of what it looks like so far. And here's a picture of what they want it to look like when it's done. It's kind of interesting because there's actually a lot of controversy around this memorial, because even though it was made to honor Crazy Horse, some people say that since it is desecrating the environment and the landscape around this area, that it actually goes against Crazy Horse's own beliefs and what he fought and died for. But either way, whatever you believe, it's there and it's cool. It's hot. Crazy Horse's legacy is best summed up by this quote that I'm going to read from my phone because there's no way I am going to memorize this. Even the most basic outline of his life shows how great he was, because he remained himself from the moment of his birth to the moment he died. Because though he may have surrendered, he was never defeated in battle. Because although he was killed, even the army admitted he was never captured. His dislike of the oncoming civilization was prophetic. Unlike many people all over the world, when he met white men, he was not diminished by the encounter.